Orb presents Tears of a Sea Cow.
This is Gary Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
And hey, it's a middle episode.
Yeah, goat blood sacrifice, baby.
Yeah, some first. We got some first.
Yeah.
In this bad boy. We got some meander.
Yeah, a little bit.
Going on, you know. It's weird. I forget about what happens in this episode outside of the beginning a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the stuff with Dr. Dugong.
Of course, it's very memorable. What happens with Dr. Dugong.
And then everything else I tend to forget until I'm watching the episode.
Well, it's funny because it's titled after something that is dispatched with in the opening, like before the cold opie, before the whole title sequence.
The cold opie?
Cold opie, yeah. Get him a jacket.
That's what we like to call them in the industry.
Yeah.
It sells a cold opie. And you get a hot opie.
Yeah. But like Tears of a Sea Cow has nothing to do with any of this. But then again, neither does the other working title, Murder O'Clock.
Yeah, it's a weird episode. Mm-hmm. Weirder than I remembered.
Yeah, I mean, I like it because I like petty Monarch. I like I like when we get the henchmen at the forefront. I love the henchmen's weird relationship with Hank and Dean. Yeah.
To me, the stuff I like in this is all little side bits.
Yeah.
You know, like I love, I love Shallow Gravy, obviously. Mm-hmm. I'm not a monster. I love the Venture Home News. Like all those little details I think are really good. Yeah. In the broad strokes, I think this is a little bit of like, kind of a so what episode. Yeah. Feels a little fillery to me. But the actual little details are pretty fun.
Yeah. Good jokes. Good jokes.
Yeah. It's a Doc Hammer joint, originally aired on July 20th, 2008. And the idea, what they're trying to advance here in the plot was just the idea that Monarch cannot arch Venture anymore.
Right.
He's trying, but he can't do it. They continue to have this be a thing for quite a while. Ends up being the main bit of season 6.
Yep.
Eventually. But here, it's kind of the early, foreshadowing of that.
Yes. Yeah. So it is kind of him falling back into his old petty patterns, bucking against Dr. Girlfriend, etc. And the guild who is trying to keep him on the straight and narrow. He can't just play the game. His heart has to be in it.
Yes. He's a true believer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the commentary and in the art book, you have Doc talking a lot about how he thinks that this episode doesn't move the plot forward very far. Like the things that are important in this are actually retconned in later. So the death of Dr. Dugong is not just a fun little gag to show how merciless the Monarch ends up being really important in season 7, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The originally was definitely just going to be a joke.
Yes. Yeah.
And then they ended up bringing it back. The coolest setup for this, I think, is in the post-credit sequence, which is the thing with the most potential.
Yes,
this and actually does move things around, or move things forward a little bit.
Yeah.
No Doc, no Brock,
which is weird.
Or Brockless and Dockless.
It contributes to this feeling like a strange episode. We don't have arguably our main character. Yeah. I mean, consciously so that they could keep the cost of the episode down. If you look at it, pretty much all of the characters are voiced either by Doc Hammer or Jackson Public.
With a smattering of Dean.
Yeah. So they didn't have to bring in your James Urbaniacs and such.
Both the commentary and the art book commentary on this is very strange because it's all just about their general writing process for the season. Mm-hmm. They don't have a lot to say about the episode. They mostly talk about, their different approaches to coming up with titles for things, what they do when they're in a crunch, That's basically what both of them were. I forgot about the book because I just moved. I listened to the commentary, and then I was like, oh yeah, I should look at that art book because usually that tends to be more enlightening.
Yeah, because they had more time to think about it. You have Ken Peele actually directing the interview. Yeah.
It's kind of not, though. It kind of just repeats all the same stuff again.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. It ended up being like a weird, usually I'm used to the commentaries not being worth listening to because of other reasons.
Yeah. I'll put them on in the background as I'm doing other stuff in the office, and then make notes if I hear anything that is important, right? Yeah.
This is one of the things I bring up in both the commentary and the book. This is the episode where Doc breaks the Star Wars bet. For things like he ends up doing the Star Wars reference. The Doctor of Sin had the only what you take with you. Star Wars reference. They both broke their bet. So they both should have had to get the shitty haircut, but instead they made nobody do it.
Right, which just feels like a cop-out to me.
It is a cop-out.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it. We've got our cold open here where a robot is slowly lumbering toward the Monarch.
Cool.
Yeah, well, it's
a robot.
Mr. Roboto, come on.
Yeah, it's Mr. Roboto from the Styx video.
Yep.
It's very specifically Mr. Roboto that Dr. Dugong has for some reason.
And they call it out. Like they say, it's the robot from the Styx video.
Yeah. A robot.
A robot.
Yeah. He's got a name.
Please, Mr. Roboto's my father. Call me Jim.
Call me like Junior Roboto. The Monarchers acting afraid of it here sarcastically, and we get the Moppets in their first appearance as the Pupa twins, stabbing the robot in the head, and Dr. and Mrs. the Monarch joins them. And the fun part about this is that the Pupa twins and Dr. and Mrs. the Monarch are playing. And the Monarch, being the foil of Dr. Venture, isn't in it for this shit. Like, he's never been in it for the game.
Right. He's not part of the pro wrestling kayfabe or however you pronounce that, right? Like, no, like this isn't just like part of the game that keeps the conflict going that generates money somehow. No, it's like he wants to hurt and kill and ruin Dr. Venture. So him showing up here, and we get to hear the who he is here to Arch, the super scientist, Dr. Dugong, Dr. Douglas Ong, with his quavering voice, kind of like explain his backstory, where he was, looking, trying to seek out the source of love and understanding, and found it. Found it in gentle sea mammals. Oh, it's a cuttlefish.
It's supposed to be Larry Flint's voice, but he sounds a lot like what's his head?
No, I mean it's the classic game. Is it Jimmy Stewart or Don Knotts? Yeah. Or
we can add Larry Flint to that.
Yeah.
New challenger. The Monarch is misidentifying him constantly because he doesn't respect him.
Yes.
At all. He's like, oh, Mr. Manatee or whatever. And over the PA, he's like, it's Dugong! Over and over. He's been doing, he's also playing Dr. Dugong.
Yeah, like, at one point his speech is interrupted, so he has to start it over again.
He's like, do you remember? He's like, yeah, so I can start it again. About how, man looks for love and understanding. They should look to the gentle aquatic animals, such as the cuttlefish. As they blow open the door to his lab with the one-liner, it was locked, so we let ourselves in. And Dr. and Mrs. the Monarch unlocks it. Says, like, well, just pretend he's Dr. Venture. And Monarch has a great imagination and is just able to do this 100%.
Yeah. So he grabs one of the Moppet's bazookas and just marches at Dr. Dugong, making a speech about how you abandoned my hatred.
Yeah. Yeah, you abandoned me. Real Joker Batman stuff.
Yeah.
And cuttlefish. And he gets murdered.
Yeah. Monarch shouts. Oh, well, I mean, yeah. So he shouts, look into my eyes, and then fires on him, dispatching the title and leaving us in uncharted territory here. There's a thing when you look at the guild promotional material, threat proportionality or threat matching is a big deal about this. You're not supposed to, I mean, I love the way Dr. and Mrs. the Monarch puts it, where he's like, oh, the guild, frowns on killing your arch on day one.
Yeah.
You're supposed to
you got to play this out.
Going.
It's cat and also cat.
Yeah.
And it's a fun thing in like season 7 where they have the Monarch mentor Augustus St. Cloud.
Yep.
And they're playing with that. We learn a lot more about this stuff.
Yeah.
We cut over to the compound where Hank, Dermot, and Helper are playing music. This is the genesis of Shallow Gravy. They're not called that yet.
Yep. And again, just the mismatched sensibilities of Hank and Dermot. Hank wants to be a lip glossary, and Dermot wants to be go blood sacrifice.
Well, and my favorite, hands down, my favorite joke in the entire episode is Helper's drums.
Oh yeah.
Not stopping during this whole thing, being shitty Casio, ding, 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 ding.
Well, it should be noted we have a theme song variant that Gwen, the composer for our theme song, that she put together that has that as the backing track now.
Yeah, beautiful.
So we're only going to use it this once, but yeah, I love the shitty Casio drums, and I love the line where Dean's like, "Can you make him stop?" And Hank says, "I don't even know how he got him to start."
Yeah, I love the Venture Home News. Very much. He's trying. He's like, give me an angle. Dean just again playing along.
Yeah,
is very cute.
Dean with his printmaker's outfit, he's got the apron and the visor on, and he's just covered with mimeograph ink. Which when I look, when I see that color of purple, I can smell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Merrick and Deadwood. And they're just like, nobody who's going to read this. And he's like, our readership number is well into the teens. And it made me, I really wanted to be able to subscribe to the Venture Home News.
Oh, it'd be so good.
Yeah. Not for reasons that the Monarch does or for evil reasons, but just as a little slice of life.
Oh yeah.
Those, when you eat in certain diners, you can still find the Orange Peel Gazette. The little it's half ads and then half golf trivia. Little one-page paper. It made me think of that. I would love that quaint little thing, but with a Dean perspective.
Yeah, and just them again differentiating the two of them. Dean committing to the Peter Parker kind of angle.
Yeah,
right.
He's
very
a reporter.
good. Yeah, intrepid reporter. Here to try to find the angle on Hank's boy band good looks and Dermot's bizarre anger.
Beautiful.
But we cut away after he says, our readership, there are dozens of us. He reads a love letter. It doesn't cut away right here, but he reads a love letter that's clearly from 21, admitting that he's in love with his boss's wife. Oh, and it turns out that his boss is a murderer. What do you recommend I do? Signed, G. Viceroy.
Well, and then Dean answers it exactly with his situation.
Yeah,
he should go for it. And I have a humble opinion. It doesn't matter that she's kind of scary and her dad is magic. Obviously talking about Triana.
Yeah.
These sad little sacks.
Yeah. But it's the Monarch reading Dean's response to 21 and 24, oblivious to the fact that it is 21 who wrote this. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's 21's like, oh, that seems like that guy's actually probably dying inside. It's pretty good advice. And Monarch is like, no, he's probably fictitious or one of you guys, 24 elbows 21 gets him to stop. He's like, listen, he even answered my question. And he's Bearwald in Baltimore, who is asking for, everyone knows Dean EV has the coolest place where he lives. How do you give me a layout for the Venture compound
with your security codes?
Yeah,
Dean EV.
She does. I love it so much.
Yeah. But he's good. He doesn't print it immediately. The feature on the Venture compound will come along after the feature about the Boom Brooms debut in Washington. Because that's where Doc and Brock are. They've gone to this scientific symposium kind of deal to demonstrate the vacuum cleaner that Rusty put together.
Presumably explodes.
Yeah.
Super great. The Monarch is super pissed because he's not there. This is the first time he's not been at the Science Now conference. Because he can't arch. Dr. Venture. The henchmen say we can help, and he's like, nah, I have to go debrief. And they're like, oh, you arched without us. They're heard about this.
Yeah.
And this is again big foreshadowing for season 7 stuff. Doctor misses the Monarch getting on the Monarch about him not following the rules. Her being the kind of the guild rules maven.
Yeah. And, saying like, I'm trying to help you. Like this is for both of us. You need to be a team player with this. And, again, she understands it. Like she's annoyed by it, but like later on in the episode, she gives a passionate explanation for why he can't play the game. Right.
Yeah. She respects it.
Yeah. He's got more hate in his little finger than you have in your whole body. Know? But yeah, they continue to argue because Monarch is not going to be tied down. She just wants him to to stand in line. I love 2024 asking, "Are you going to get a divorce?"
Yeah, very very funny.
Yeah.
I love while they're airing stuff here, I also like 21. He's sad that the Moppets are taking all the work, and he has evidence they're peeing in the corners of his room.
Yeah, they're marking
I love
my
that we don't
room.
learn more about that. Like I have evidence. Yeah, really really good.
It's a great throwaway.
Horrible little shits. We cut back to Hank and Dermot, and they're kind of like practicing stage moves, doing obstacle course stuff. Like they're timing themselves.
Yeah.
Jumping from bed to bed to help her.
Mm-hmm.
And Dean, shows up. Dermot can't do it. But Hank can because he's an adventure kid. Mm-hmm. And Dean pops up because he's mad about the noise, as we mentioned before. Like, we don't even know how we got him to start. And I love this little bit because Dean is great in this episode.
Yeah.
He's like, Hank is like, oh, we're left alone. We can do whatever we want. And Dean just saying, don't you get it? You need to see the long game here. Mm-hmm. We're being tested. If we don't get in trouble, we get more privileges, Hank.
We can go to public school, Hank. Like,
adorable.
Oh, it's adorable, but also kind of sad because like they just Dean wants out. He wants connection with real boys.
Very sad little boy.
Yeah. Oh God. But they talk about this in their reveal, like, oh, Dad said he left us alone to go to the conference because it's full of hot, desperate women. And naive little Dean, he thinks, oh, this must have something to do with the lava men of Tanga Island. So just imagine how dangerous their desperate women will be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pretty cute.
Mm-hmm.
So the Monarch is kind of having out with the henchmen, talking about how he's not allowed, talking about how far he's fallen.
Yeah.
Here. And the henchmen encourage him, like, well, let's go fuck up the Venture compound. He's like, I want to hate him. I want to destroy him. I want to build a machine to hate him. They encourage him. So they jump down this escape tunnel. 21 and the Monarch. 24 takes the stairs, and we get the stuck in the water slide thing from It's Always Sunny. Basically.
Yep.
No good.
I'm going fast. Slow yourself down. These are booties. I can feel every scene.
Yeah, these are booties. Yeah. I was thinking about how even at the best case scenario for this falling into that car, there's a really good chance you just get a gear shift, like ripping your perineum.
It's a 1,000,000 to 1 shot, Doc. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's no reason to do it.
Right.
Just absolutely terrifying.
24 has the right idea. He does make it harder for them by putting up the top, but they'll thank him because it's gonna rain.
Yeah. And he also gets on their way quicker, just walking. So Dean can't sleep because the helper's drum machine's still going. He gets up there and is trying to stop him from doing it, and eventually he has to deactivate all of his features. Mm-hmm. And that includes the security for the compound.
Yes. The power dims and then returns, leaving them vulnerable. Hank and Dermot, they're having a little camp out. God, is it the teenage antics? They're out back playing cards when they see a purple glow overhead, and they immediately jump to, oh, this has to be a UFO. Dermot's like, oh, it has to be a UFO because they disable electrical devices, and it's landing right here in your backyard. So that rules out weather balloons and the moon.
I love ruling out the moon. Hank is going to get help, but Dermot starts flesh pocketing a big lighter. So when the aliens probe them, and they will, they'll get burnt a face full of fire here. Yeah. Big Dermot energy.
Yep.
They're trying to raise somebody, but they can't. Brock is passed out in a big pile of post sacks. Rusty is asleep with the boom broom. He did not have sex with the boom broom.
Yeah, they make that very clear in the commentary.
Yeah. But I understand why people, thought that was the easy joke they were going for.
Yeah.
But no, he was just excited about the boom broom. I really like that we never learn what the boom broom does or is really. At some point, the Monarch's like, oh, Dr. Venture invented an exploding vacuum. That's all we get.
Yeah.
So.
And Dr. Mrs. the Monarch wakes up. She is angry that the Monarch is gone. He has snuck out, so she's got to get dressed. The Moppets creepily want to stay in the room while they dress. We get a lot of just unsavory, like, I saw mommy's panties. Why panties? Yeah. Yeah. Kevin,
because they're full adult men.
Yeah.
Who are sexually attracted to their boss.
Yeah, to their boss who treats them like infants. Yeah.
Kind of messed up, kind of weird. So the Monarch 21 and 24 show up at the compound. The 24 smells like a septic tank.
Yeah, he's like doubled over by the stench, from that rocket full of human waste that upended the previous episode.
It's a really weird little spot of continuity. There, because watching this after spending a couple of weeks after watching the last one, it feels like the opening of a plot that never goes anywhere.
Oh, the bad smell on the compound.
Yeah, like I was thinking like when one of the lasers would set a fire or something. Like there's a septic tank, it's going to explode, but really it's just a reference to, it's like an episode with like very little continuity that has one little tiny bit of continuity to the last episode.
There's something about the Venture compound that has that as well, because like the meteor that they find full of skeletons from the pilot is there in a later episode too. So like things that end up on the compound are just found later, even though nothing else is ever addressed. Yeah.
Super weird. The Monarch is giving a speech, as these barrage of lasers, like the security defenses come back on. The Dr. Mrs. the Monarch put on her Dr. Girlfriend costume and is like telling the Mobbits they're gonna be fine if she leaves them alone. She's gonna go take care of this. And they say, why does the Monarch hate Dr. Venture? And she explains, it's because he can only hate honestly. It just ruin his career. If he didn't do, even if it ruins his career or his marriage, he's he hates honestly. And like, no. What did he do to piss him off? And she just leaves before the answer. It's very meta. Like screw the audience joke.
Yeah, very much so. Just like the whole, what is the reason that the Monarch hates, why does the Monarch hate Dr. Venture? Basically just a parallel mommy bomb, that they get close to dropping and then don't. Well, I mean, they eventually do, but throughout. So out in the hangar, 21 and 24 are hanging out. They're doing some Rosencrantz and Guildenstern stuff. They're talking about how they never get shot. Like, isn't it weird? Everybody around us dies, but we don't. 21 says we're like main characters, and 24 says don't jinx it, which is real fun knowing what comes later. Yep.
They're very defensive about this being meta.
Yeah.
In the commentary, like it's like just friends having a conversation. It's not meta.
But
like,
it is.
Doc Hammer is very weirdly defensive about this episode.
Yeah, he is. And like, it doesn't make it funnier if it's meta, and it also doesn't make it less funny if it's meta. It can kind of be either. It's two characters in a show, one of them talking about, this is kind of like we're in a show. By definition, it is meta. Yeah.
It's there's a weird tone to the commentary on it. 21 can't see anything. And they're like, why don't you turn on your night goggles? Which it turns out he didn't know about. They're doing that running joke as well. They see Hank and Dermot and they start chasing him. The Monarch is in the lab while all these hijinks are going on. Hawk's a big loogie on a microscope, which is, not going to do anything. But then he notices that Dr. Venture's rebuilding Gardo.
Yep.
So like, big Gardo fans. He comes back, baby.
Yep. Remember Gardo? Gardo just looks kind of like a Securitron from Fallout. He's got the monitor with Rusty's face on it, and so he hops up on top of it, and we're gonna see how that turns out. Which is, I think, one of the strongest ending gags for an episode.
It doesn't work for me really well.
Oh,
that ending gag. Yeah, and we'll get into it. I'm not trying to be a killjoy or anything. I think. Okay. I'm cooler on this one. This is one of Jeremy's favorites too. This was his second choice.
Oh,
for episode to appear on, but I and with that in mind, I was looking forward to rewatching it, but because I couldn't really remember what happened with it again, because the title doesn't really tell you.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a little cooler on it. Huh. I think that I just like those little side details. I don't necessarily like any of the main stuff, really.
Yeah, I would put this toward the top of the middle third for this season, but I still there's a lot here that is really that is delightful to me. Yeah.
I think for me, it would be bottom of middle third. It's not a bad episode. It's not Dr. Quim.
Yeah.
But it's for me, it's not, it's perfunctory to me.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
But 24 catches up to and tackles Dermot, and Dermot coughs on him, trying to give him the earth germs. They have some shtick back and forth, where 24 tries to give him a little bit of hassle for like, oh, but I caught you. You can't be a badass. And like, well, I had a lighter up my butt. Now I believe you're Hank's friend.
You're Hank's friend. Yeah. Hank doesn't have friends. He's like, I had a lighter up my butt. Now I believe you're Hank's friend.
Yeah.
My favorite bit in these is when 21 is chasing Hank and 21 does a timeout because he's out of breath. Yeah. What are the signs of a heart attack? Yeah. He's like, what are the signs of a heart attack? Get off my lawn. It's really, really great.
Yeah. As Dr. Mrs. the Monarch activates the cocoon, finally giving the other henchmen something to do. They've just been, laying dormant in the tree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
this is where I like this little exchange here as well. 21 is like, listen, Hank, like, I gotta tell you something. You cannot die.
Yeah.
I've seen you die like several times. Shotgun to the face, die. You cannot die. And he's like the Highlander, and 21's real excited. Like, yes, like the Highlander. And he's like, he can't think of anything else to do. And I love this where he's like, I hate killing you, dude. Like, I love that sentence.
Yeah. It's like, but it's all I can come up with. He darts him in the chest, thinking that it's a lethal poison. But again, he does not have any understanding about how any of his gear works. Dean, he had gone into the panic room. There was a little bit of a gag about his toy giraffe, Mr. Ricci.
Mr. Ricci.
Mr. Ricci's so good, a green giraffe. He fell into the panic room, so he went to the panic room to retrieve it. And he walks into the lab and sees Monarch hate fucking Gardo.
Because Gardo has Rusty's face.
Yes.
On it. That's how he gets into it.
Yeah. And he's like, what are you doing to her? Mark says, giving your robot chlamydia, which, fine. The thing that is funny about this is the way that the Monarch gets out of this as he is buck naked, and Dean's like, I'm going to tell my dad about this. And Monarch says, oh, of course. And then your transformation into a villain will be complete. Yes. That's the last step. And he just reverse psychs him out. And Dean's like, I will never be evil like you. I'll never tell him, ever. And the Monarch just runs away.
So I like that bit. I think the thing that I don't like is the Monarch wanting to fuck Gardo because it has Rusty's face.
Yeah.
I don't like the conflation of Monarch's pathological need to have this enemy with sex.
Okay.
It's not very consistently done.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time it's shown up, and like, hate fucking Gardo isn't going to do anything.
Right.
It's very likely that Dr. Avenger won't even know that happened, and he doesn't have chlamydia. So it's just this weird psychosexual Monarch thing. Yeah. Which I don't think track is laid for, nor do I think it ever pays off.
Yeah, it never really goes anywhere. It's just another way that Monarch is a petty broken mess. Yep.
It feels more cheap than the relationship between the Monarch and Rusty feels to me.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like an easy joke.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That's the part I don't like about it. The exchange with Dean is good.
Yeah. And that's the part that I like about it. He could have been doing anything, and just Monarch thinking on his feet, understanding how naive Dean is and how wrapped up Dean is in being a good boy, that he can just pull this standard comic book Star Wars line on him. And he'll just be so invested in it, start crying like, no, I'll never do this, and immediately playing into his hand. I think that is cute and good.
That part is good.
Yeah.
We get outside, 24 is bribing Dermot to be quiet by giving him gear.
Yep.
He doesn't tell him because they're not supposed to be here, obviously.
Right.
The Cocoon comes to pick up the Monarch Romeo and grabs him. 21 tells 24 they killed Hank, with a dart, and he's like, you tranquilized him, so he didn't know that about the gear. I know he knows that. He's talked about it before. I think they're leaning on that joke too far. Monarch ends up coming into the command center. His pants are down. Didn't put on his clothes. Yeah, covering up his dick. And the implication he's in the doghouse for doing this.
Yeah.
Comes up and says, honey, I'm home.
And as the cocoon takes off, Hank wakes up and yanks the dart out of his chest, now convinced that he is immortal, saying, "Give me the prize. I am the one."
And again, I guess that's another thing that doesn't work for me so much in this episode is that nothing ever comes of that.
Yeah.
Like the end of the season, we lose the clones. So the boys are no longer immortal. But the implication is supposed to be if Hank thinks he's immortal, he's going to do a bunch of dumbass shit. Mm-hmm. He's going to jump off the roof as Batman.
Yeah.
I don't understand what the point of hinting at that was when he doesn't believe it. And then later he has to be told it. And it's after it's already, no longer the case.
Yeah. Later it's a gag that it is like well after he should understand that that's what was happening with those clone slugs. That he that he gets it. Like it's only when J.K. Simmons' character like explicitly says what is going on to Dean that it becomes clear that like they have not tracked with it. Yeah.
Yeah. But who cares? Because it doesn't change their behavior at all. Mm-hmm. Hank does not act differently based on this. Like I think the thing that leaves me cold about this episode is the way that it relates to other episodes is so scattershot.
Yeah.
It just some things end up mattering, but sometimes not for like a decade.
Yeah.
And then some things just don't matter at all.
It's funny because we're kind of like trading places here where I'm extending a lot of leeway because the jokes are funny, and you're more you're more looking at this as kind of like where does it fit as part of the cosmology when normally it's the other way around.
In this one, the jokes didn't land for me as hard.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's not like I don't, the next episode we're talking about, which is one of my favorites this season. I think the jokes land harder and the character work is stronger. It also doesn't advance the grand plot that much, but it gets by because I think it's funnier.
Yeah.
More than anything. And then I can go fully the other way too. Like you can end up with something like the episode Orb, which is not super funny. It's all lore. Basically like that episode does not have a lot of jokes in it.
Yeah.
But I can dig it. This one to me just kind of doesn't do very much of either.
Yeah.
The most exciting part for me is the post-credits scene because I love the characterization of this. I love Dr. Girlfriend doing her best.
Yes.
She respects the Monarch. She respects his whole steez. She can't just let him break the rules.
Yeah.
So she pulled a bunch of strings to let him arch Jonas Venture Jr.
And so we see the cocoon speeding over the ocean toward Spider Skull Island. And we get, JJ's whole assembled crew of basically people that Rusty has ignored. Saying like, what's going on? Leading us, giving us kind of like a really explicit bridge to the next episode, which is not something we usually get.
Yeah. That's cool. I like the idea of that quite a bit. I like bringing those people back in, and it's a cool idea as a way to, I like the Monarch's like scheme, to get around his issue.
Yeah. He will arch a venture.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean how he uses it to arch the real venture.
Oh, of course.
Like how he abuses the rules. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird. Like talking it out, maybe this is a middling one for me. I'm not trying to convince you or anybody of that, but I think that just on revisiting it, it's like I realized like, this is really kind of a middling one for me.
Yeah. I think the difference is like middling rounded down and middling rounded up. Between the difference between the two of us.
Neither of us are arguing this is like top of the pops, I think.
Yeah.
For the season. Yep. Reminds me a lot of the last episode in terms of its placement in terms of advancing anything. But yeah, not bad by any means.
Right.
We're not in Quimtown.
Right.
We're not one of the lords of Quimtown. Thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate you.
Yeah. If you would like to get episodes a week early and also support the network, you can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
Yeah. You can also leave us ratings or reviews on Apple Podcast or Podcast Addict, and tell your friends. If you have venture friends, tell them about the show. We're doing one of those recap shows. They're popular.
Yeah, that is a kind of show that people do. It's the kind of show that people listen to.
You could watch Loki and then listen to this episode. It's not going to stop you.
Yeah.
You know, you can watch the new season. I think you should leave and then listen to this.
Wait, is that out?
You know? Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit. I need to watch that. Yeah.
Yep, I'm going to eat lunch and watch an episode presently.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Well, let's not delay. Let's go do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, thanks, everybody. And until next time,
Go Team Venture.